and I just start bawling. Like, I feel like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. If Iraq didn't get me on track, nothing else would. This was how I was going to die. I was going to die an alcoholic and a broken man. My Independence Day, the day I took back control of my life, because there is a better way to live than drowning your life, your family, your friendships, and your future in alcohol. This is my alcoholism story. Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru. My name is Anthony, and they call me the Guru, and this is going to be completely the most fucked up or different video that I've ever done on this channel, because today I'm going to share with you my alcoholism story. And why now? Might be the first question. I've actually gotten over the course of this channel, there's been many times, especially when I've done like the Janie Lane videos, where I've hinted at the fact that I had an alcohol problem and that my life was going nowhere, and that I got out of that downward spiral, and that a lot of times where people have reached out to me and asked how did I do it. People have opened up and shared that they're struggling, and one person said, hey, you should do a video and talk about it in detail. And so I decided to, and I don't have any notes. I didn't write anything down, but I'm gonna share with you as best as I can my story. And I think I also wanted to do it now. It's Wednesday, December 18th. Christmas is in 1 week. And I know that in my past, Christmas was always a difficult time. The holidays were, but especially Christmas, because in the past, when you're getting to Christmas and you're also coming on the new year and you start to reflect, and I used to sit and think, Jesus, another year fucking wasted. So I would always, holidays were always a difficult time. And that's, when you think about alcoholics, that's where you hear a lot about suicides and people just kind of falling off the deep end. So anyway, that's another reason that I decided to do this now. So if you're not into this, you come here for hair metal content and rock and roll stuff, I get it. So yeah, I am going to start branching out into different topics on this channel. So hopefully if you like what I do musically, you'll like what I do outside of that as well. So this is my alcoholism story. I think the first place that I want to start is the morning of September 11th, 2001. I was 28 that morning, and I remember my phone going off at 9, maybe 9:30, sometime after the towers had been hit. And I'm like, I'm fucking hungover. I'd been drinking till 4 in the morning, and I had to work that morning. I was a college dropout. I worked at a bar, a little place called Grandma's Saloon and Grill in Fargo, North Dakota. It closed a while back, But anyway, I was supposed to work that morning. In fact, that's the only reason that I answered the phone, because I was hoping that, sometimes people would call you and say, hey, I need some money. Can I work for you? And I was hoping that somebody was calling to ask if they could have my shift, which I would have gladly done. At that point in my life, I was probably working about 15, 20 hours a week. Most of the money I made went to drinking, Charlie just burped. But I would, I'd work my 4 or 5 hours at night. If I didn't have to work late, I'd get done at 9 o'clock, and then I'd just go sit out at the tables and drink with my friends until, closing time. And then I would often, if I wasn't drunk enough, I would go get some off sale and sit up and drink at home until I was ready to black out or pass out. And at that point in my life, blackout was generally the option that happened. So anyway, the phone starts ringing, and it's my buddy Mark Hagan. We worked together, and he wasn't calling to ask if he could take my shift. I pick up the phone, and he goes, hey, are you watching TV? And I was like, no. And he goes, turn on the TV. World War III is starting. And so I, finish up my conversation, hang up the phone, turn on the TV. And, all you see are pictures of these planes flying into the towers, and eventually the towers crumbling. Well, I had fallen so far in my life by that morning. I'd been dropped out of college for 5 years. I worked part-time at a bar. I drank until I blacked out probably 5 nights a week. And the only reason it probably wasn't 6 was because I lived with my girlfriend and my kid. And, so I tried to keep myself together a couple days a week. I weighed 260 pounds. I smoked a pack a day. I was just completely lost. And as I kept watching videos of those planes flying into those towers, I just couldn't help but think it wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world to have been on one of those planes. I wasn't always an alcoholic, or maybe I wasn't alcoholic, but I used to be a good drinker. I used to be fun. Okay. High school and college, before it took control, I was the life of the party. I was somebody that you wanted to drink with. You get a couple drinks in you, you start feeling that warm, tingly sensation. You start feeling confident. You start feeling funny. You start thinking that the girls are looking at you like, wow, look, that's somebody you might want to end up with at the end of the night. And, suddenly your words are flowing. You no longer feel awkward going up to talk to that, pretty girl that you wouldn't talk to sober. But when you've got a few drinks in you, you feel like you can do anything. And that's how I felt when I was drinking. It's not like I didn't have, I was fairly funny. I was fairly popular when I wasn't drinking. It's not like I couldn't talk to people when I was sober. I could. I was fairly self-assured, but alcohol just made the possibilities seem endless. I remember the first time I got drunk, I was like 9. And like with most shit, the first time I did it I was with my cousins. My cousins were the greatest. My cousin Becca we were 5 days apart in age. My cousin Dwayne, who I idolized, was 4 years older than me. Well, My cousin Doug was 6 years older than me. And one day one Thanksgiving, when I was about 9, I used to stay at their place all the time. Well, my mom let me go stay at my cousin's farm. And I went out with my cousins Doug and Dwayne, and they had a 12 pack or whatever of old Milwaukee, and they were letting me drink it. And I had about 2 beers, and I didn't really notice anything, but we got out to take a piss, and suddenly I'm like, whoa, shit, I'm all wobbly. But it was so fucking funny. It's not like I knew at the time, it's not like I thought, oh man, I got to keep doing this. I probably didn't drink again until I was in 7th or 8th grade. But, by the time I went to a really small high school, there were 10 kids in my graduating class. And, in a small town like that, it's not like there's not shit to do. So we drank, and we went out and partied and found somebody to buy beer for us. And that was just a part of growing up in small town North Dakota. So I do fine in high school. I'm a pretty good athlete. I'm fairly popular, small town. Did fine academically. I wasn't like a straight A student, but I was, got B's, A's, and C's, probably. So I go off to college, and there I really start, now shit, I can stay out as late as I want. If you don't want to get up and go to class, you don't have to, and I usually didn't. So then I really started partying. Went to school for 2 years, but my grades sucked. I partied a lot. I gained the freshman 20, 25. And, one good thing that I did at that time is I wanted to make a change. I wanted to get into better shape. My brother was in the National Guard, and he said, hey, you should join the Army National Guard. So in the summer of 1990, or in January of 1993, I actually signed up. In the summer of 1993, 2 years after I graduated from high school, I went to basic training. And I got into great shape. I got all that military discipline. Got home from basic training, went right back to drinking and smoking and all the stuff. But my grades shot up. And for 2 years, I was like, man, I was doing awesome. But the drinking kept, slowly getting a little bit worse. You drink a little bit more. You look forward to drinking more days. Well, by 1996, it wasn't too bad by then, but my girlfriend got pregnant. And, my daughter was born in June of 1996. And my grades had been slipping. That military discipline was gone again. And I dropped out of college when my daughter was born. And I told myself that, hey, I'm going to work. I'm going to take care of my family. Well, I'd been waiting tables at a restaurant, Grandma's, like I already talked about. And that's where I decided I was going to work full time. But I didn't work full time. Like I said, I worked about 20 hours a week, telling myself that I was doing better. My girlfriend basically took care of our rent and stuff. I chipped in here and there for groceries. So yes, my daughter is born in 1996, and I am a shit father. I'm dropped out of college. I'm working 20 hours a week. So I would watch my daughter during the day. And when my girlfriend got home at night from her job, then I would go bartend and, usually get wasted afterwards till 2 or 3 in the morning. So then, I sleep, I'm hung over as shit in the morning, and I'm supposed to watch my daughter. So what do? She's like, wants me to get up. So what do? I turn on the TV, I make a bowl of cereal, I set her in front of the TV, and I go to sleep on the couch. That's my fatherhood. And tell yourself, hey, I'm a good dad. I'm there for my daughter. Are you shitting me? I was not there for anybody. I was selfish. I was there for myself. You know, that's fatherhood. Yeah, sleep till 1 while she's like roaming around the house, playing with toys, and when she needs something, come and wake me up. Yeah, real fucking cool. Yeah, you're really taking care of your family. Whatever. And after after that's what I started doing after dropping out of school, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. The drinking got worse. I switched from beer to hard alcohol. I started always having Jägermeister shots all the time. And, around in 1999, okay, I got a DUI. And I was a 0.27 was my blood alcohol level. A 0.27. Like death starts happening around a 0.35. But here's the thing about the 0.27 is when I got pulled over, I wasn't blacked out yet. And I usually was blacking out by 1999. So I didn't think I was all that drunk, which tells you that I was ordinarily drinking until I was probably around a 0.30, right in that range. That's how bad it was. So I was lost. I remember my girlfriend and my daughter coming to jail to pick me up after my DUI. They bailed me out. I went home. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning and dumped out whatever booze I had at home and said, I'm done. And 5 days later, your mind starts talking to yourself. Oh, you're not that bad. Like, you're not homeless. You have a job. You have a career. You have a family. Drinking is what you do for fun. So I went right back to it. And by 9/11, I was as low as I thought I could go. I've always said, like, I never felt like I wanted to commit suicide, but if there is a step right below there where you're like, damn, it's on the horizon, that's where I was. I'll put a picture in here because we had a picture taken December 25th, Christmas Day of 2002, a year after 9/11. So, let me go back. So here's one good thing about 9/11. There's nothing good about 9/11, but I was supposed to be out of the guard on January 8th of 2002. And I had told my unit, like, I'm out. Like, all it really does is interfere with my drinking. Nobody wants to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and Sunday and go to guard drill. So I said, I'm done. And they were, obviously they're like, yeah, sure, your contract ends. Well, after 9/11, everyone was so patriotic. And suddenly everybody's like, oh, you're in the guard. Thank you for your service. So like a week later, I called my guard unit and I'm like, hey, can I change my mind and stay in? Well, they're like, yeah, sure, of course. You have 3 months till you get out. So I ended up signing a new contract on January 8th of 2002 to stay in for 3 more years. Well, I'm going to show you a picture. It'll be up here of me Christmas Day, 2002. I am 260 pounds. I have no confidence. Even when I drink, there's no confidence. Like, all of the fun in drinking is gone by then. Like, instead of being the life of the party, I'm the guy who just sits and gets as drunk as possible and becomes annoying because I black out and then I can barely talk and people are like weirded out by me because I'm just mumbling and slurring. The days of, like picking up girls, if that's what you're into or whatever, are long gone. I'm the annoying drunk who talks about high school and the glory days. The person that you never thought you would turn into. Like, that was me. Oh, But you know that's going on, but you can't stop because you still feel like drinking is when I have my fun, even though drinking is no longer fun. So that's me, Christmas Day 2002, a half grin, about 17 chins in my face, and just fucking depressed. So strange, but the Iraq War was about to start in 2003. And we get a phone call beginning January, I think 23rd, I forget now, saying, hey, pack up all your military shit and show up to our unit, I think January 27th of 2003. And we're like, what the fuck? I've never been activated, never been deployed. I was in the Guard at 10 years at that point. And you're like, okay, shit, show up, got all your stuff. And then we find out you are getting deployed. You are going to Fort Carson, Colorado. They still didn't tell us where we were going. We didn't know we were going to Iraq. For as far as we know, we were going to Hawaii to, do airport security after 9/11. Well, so we had 4 days to get our shit and get to the armory with all our stuff. By day 7, after 3 days there, we're on buses going to Fort Carson, Colorado. Well, in Fort Carson, Colorado, so I was with the 142nd Engineer Combat Battalion. I was a combat medic. And what an engineer battalion does is like build shit, fix roads, build buildings, make bathrooms, whatever. They could builders and fixers. And I was a combat medic. So we get to Fort Carson, Colorado. We trained there for about 2.5 months. Still don't know where we're going. But they let us drink there. So we all drank our asses off for 2.5 months. They wouldn't tell us until we got on the plane where we were going. We go to Kuwait. We get there for 3 weeks. And then they're like, you're going to Iraq. And I don't want to make this an Iraq video, okay? But this is about my sobriety. So, but when we get to Iraq, like the rules are you can't drink. And, I wasn't so addicted that I was shaking and going through the, detox. I wanted to drink, I missed it. Sometimes I would feel a little empty inside, but I just want to clarify that I drank until blackout 5 nights a week. I didn't drink in the morning. I didn't, I almost drank every day, but not quite. But, I didn't sneak drinks at work. I drank after work. But so when I got to Kuwait, I wanted to drink, but I was like, hey, we're not supposed to drink. So I didn't. And 2 weeks in Kuwait, and then we go to Iraq. We convoy in. We have 111 vehicles, 700 people. I'm driving the ambulance. Charlie is pawing the shit out of me. Do you need to come up? And, we're driving into Iraq. The war is, they thought it was over. We see blown up cars and buildings and shit still smoking, but, they think the war is over. So, we go to a place called LSA Anaconda, Logistics and Support Area, which was near the town of Balad, which was 40 miles north of Baghdad. Anyway, as I get farther and farther away from my last drink, I start feeling better and better. My confidence starts coming back. I start losing weight. We start, when we weren't working during the day, you could work out on the base. They start bringing in, you could run places. They start bringing weights in, and there's nothing to do at night. So I'm working out. People are like, shit, you're losing a bunch of weight. And man, you seem different. And I loved that. I was like, fuck. Here I thought I needed to drink to feel confident. No, I needed to not drink to feel confident. but I had forgotten that. It had been so long since I hadn't drank that I didn't know what life was like without alcohol. And here I am in the middle of a war zone. People are dying. I'm convoying. I'm the convoy medic. I got to go out on convoys 2 to 3 days a week, and it's scary as shit. And sometimes we end up, we're getting shot at. We see other units, getting blown up as we're driving by. But I was doing better than anybody over there. I was like, fuck, keep me here in Iraq. This is where I am finding out how to live again, in Iraq. And so I'm going to fast forward to the end. By the end of the year, I probably lost 50 pounds. My company commander is like, you know what? You should go back to college and get a degree and come be an Army officer. That's how much, before Iraq, nobody ever counted on me. If anything, they thought I was maybe, I was pretty funny. People liked having me around. I told jokes, but you would have never said, man, you're a really great soldier. But now people were starting to say this. Like, you're a really good soldier. Like, we can depend on you. We like having you around. You are good to have for morale. People trust you. All this shit that people had not said about me for a number of years. And that felt awesome. So when we were getting ready to go home in April of 2004, a year after we'd stepped foot in Iraq, I'll be honest, I was scared to go home. I wasn't quite ready to commit to, you will not drink again. Here's what I was telling myself. When you go home, you're going to cut down on your drinking. You're going to go back to college and get a degree. You're going to become a better father. But I hadn't said, you are an alcoholic and you need to quit drinking. I hadn't said that. I wasn't ready for that yet. So, Charlie is, holy shit, you can't see her? I'm going to see if she needs to go potty. Do you need to go potty? Yeah, but girls, go potty outside. Come on, let's go potty. Holy shit. We're getting ready to go home. And my mind is racing because I was nervous. I'm like, am I going to go home and blow it? So I started thinking maybe I should try. There was another North Dakota unit coming in after us. And I started asking around hey, could I volunteer to stay another year? Isn't that fucked up? Like you would rather stay in Iraq for another year because you're scared of what's going to happen. Your kid and your girlfriend are back home and you don't want to go there because I felt like, I was born again in Iraq. So anyway, no, they weren't going to let me stay for another year. You needed to go home. But they did need people to stay for another month to be the port crew, the cleaning the vehicles and loading. So everybody else went home and about 30 of us out of 700 stayed and cleaned vehicles and loaded vehicles onto the aircraft carriers to be taken back to America. And I volunteered. I was like, well, here's another month I can put off facing what is going to happen to me when I got home. And what happened? The first day we got home, right when we got off the plane, there was beer and all that. And I got so drunk, I don't know if I blacked out, but I threw up. Well, and a lot of people did, I got so drunk that, I threw up, and we had to stay in Fort Carson to out-process for a week. When we got home, it didn't take a month, and I was right back to where I was before I left. Drinking and blacking out, gaining weight, and about 2 months after I got home, so I got home right around shit, was it the end of April, beginning of May? Anyway, by the end of June, and I think it was June 28th, I woke up one day, I was hung over to beat shit. And it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I woke up. The sun is shining bright. It's a beautiful summer day. And I just start bawling. Like, I feel like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. Because if Iraq didn't get me on track, nothing else would. This was how I was going to die. I was just going to drink and never accomplish anything, never go off and be the teacher and the coach and the role model and the father, all these things that I thought I was going to be when I was younger. I was going to do none of that. I was going to die an alcoholic and a broken man. And I sat there that morning, that afternoon, just shaking. And I'm like, what the fuck is going to happen to me? And I went to the phone book, remember those? And the yellow pages, remember those? And I looked up treatment and found a place and picked up the phone and called. And, somebody picks up and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I just got home from Iraq, but I need help with my drinking. So, anyway, so they had me come in for a consult and they're like, yep, we think you need to be in treatment. And, the 4th of July weekend was coming up and I'm like, well, there's kind of a problem with that because there's this big rock festival and a bunch of my college friends, a bunch of my army friends, this was like our first big hurrah to get everybody together and party. And so I told them, I'm like, I want to come in to treatment. I need help, but can we wait till after this weekend? And they're like, well, are you sure that's smart? And to be serious, I said, look, I'm not suicidal. I want to live. And this was probably dumb on my part, but I said, I'm going to go to this thing, but I promise I will be in at the beginning of the next week. And I did go, and I drank my ass off, and I used to worry that I would get so drunk and depressed, like happened a lot, that I would, open up and tell people that I was an alcoholic and I was going to treatment, and then I would ruin their weekend because then they'd be like, oh shit, we can't be drinking around this guy. He's going into... But anyway, I didn't let the cat out of the bag. And here's why. It's important to me that my sobriety date is July 4th, 2004. That's my Independence Day. Well, there were concerts that day. This is the end of the 4-day weekend. And we were supposed to go to these concerts, but the weather was shitty. And everybody was like, let's just go home. Let's not, we drank our asses off for 3 days. The night before was July 3rd. And everybody's like, let's just go home. It's raining. We're all hungover. And I'm like, fuck, we can't go home. Like, I need to drink today. Like, I'm going to treatment tomorrow. But I don't say this. But I was hungover too. And I'm like, fine, let's drive. This is in Bottineau, North Dakota. We got to drive back like 3.5 hours to Fargo. And I'm like, fine, I'll just get home and I'll go drink by myself and nobody will know, and that'll be my last hurrah. But we drank so hard for 3 fucking days that I got home and I didn't drink. And I'm glad, because the July 4th seems like a better day. My Independence Day, the day I took back control of my life. So the next day, I go into treatment. I end up going to the VA hospital for a month. And so I'm going to, for people who are struggling, I'm going to tell you, for me, the most important thing was telling everybody. That Monday, when I went in to treatment, I hadn't told anybody yet. I had to call my brother, who was the manager of Grandma's, the bar that I worked at, and say, hey, I'm not coming into work today. I'm going to alcohol treatment. And he was ecstatic. He was sad. He was bawling on the phone. I'm sure I was too, but he was like, no, you have to do that. I'm so proud of you, all this. So then I got to, tell my girlfriend and hey, tell my mom, I'm a mama's boy, tell my mom, hey, I'm going to treatment. I hadn't told anybody before, like, hey, I'm an alcoholic. This was it. Now I was telling everybody. And that for me was so important. Because in the past, when I'd, decide I was done drinking, which would happen every time I'd do something stupid, like get a DUI or get into a fight or whatever, I would always, I'm going to quit drinking, but I wouldn't tell anybody. So then when I failed, nobody was going to hold me accountable because it was only between me and me. So this time everybody knew, like, fuck, this is serious. This isn't Anthony saying, shit, man, I got to quit drinking. I got so fucked up last night. Like, this was for real. So I went to treatment and it was, at the Veterans Hospital. So it's only veterans. There was 8 of us. There was 1 World War II vet. This guy was like 78. 6 Vietnam vets. And then I was like the baby of the family. I was the one guy from Iraq. And, after a couple days, and I was sober and I started feeling better again. And I remember these Vietnam vets were like, what are you doing here? Like, you don't seem like you have a problem. And I'm like, well, it might not seem like that. But 4 days ago, I was bawling, and thought I was having a nervous breakdown and thought my life was over. So, when I got sober, I would feel hope. And so I go to this month of treatment and I learn a lot from these Vietnam vets and this World War II vet. And I remember at the end, they were like, their stories were like full of relapses. One guy had been a teacher like I was hoping to be. And, had a teaching career and started, after a couple of years of teaching, loses his job, was living in his car and get sober and then go back and do it again. And they were like, don't do what we did. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, I don't know. Am I going to relapse? I don't know. But I finished the month and I just, I felt good. Did I still want to drink at times? Of course. But I also was like, I know that if I pick up that bottle again, I'm fucked. There's, there's no way I can function and do anything if I drink. So I get done with that treatment plan at the beginning of August of 2004. That September, I go back to college at Valley City State. I've been out of college for 10 years. And I start up again to get my teaching degree. And I become an RA in the dorms. Yep, I'm 32 years old. I'm living in the dorms. And wouldn't you know it, my fucking grades, like I'm like a straight A student now. Because I'm not drinking. I can get up in the morning. I can accomplish shit. Like people will always ask, do you ever get cravings? Like, yes, there are times. That October of 2004, I went to one of my best friends, Brent and Chantel. We were all college friends, and then they were getting married. I went to their wedding. And so I've been sober at this point for probably 4 or 5 months. And I'm like, of course you guys are going to drink. I'm like, I'm not going to tell, no, you're not going to like not drink, because they were honestly concerned about that. But there was a point where all my college buddies, all the groomsmen were all in a circle and they're doing a toast. And for that minute, I was like, fuck, how come they can all drink? And it doesn't, they're successful, got degrees. How come it ruins my life and it doesn't ruin theirs? I didn't want it to ruin theirs, but I was like, why can't I do what they can do? But I didn't, I was like, fuck, don't. You know what's going to happen. You're going to lose everything. So yes, there are times where I get that itch to drink again. But I know what's gonna happen. I know it's gonna ruin my shit. So I don't. And I get fucking great grades that year of 2004, 2005. And my confidence is back and I'm working out again. And in February of 2005, I quit smoking. Holy shit. That was super hard too. And I'm still in the Guard, so I'm going to Guard. And my company commander is still like, dude, you're going back to college. You need a college degree to become an officer. He's like, you should go to OCS. So guess what? In the summer of 2005, I go to Officer Candidate School. And I graduate college in May of 2006. And I accept my commission as an Army officer in May of 2006. And here's why I'm telling you some of the good stuff that happened. Is because none of that would have happened if I was sober. So if you are somebody who wants to get sober, I hope, make some goals. Like I think a lot of people fail because they're like, well, now what do I do? You go out and you start accomplishing the shit that you couldn't accomplish because you were an alcoholic. I could not go be an Army officer and go to college and succeed at those things when I'm drinking. Absolutely not. But I could when I was sober. Okay? So I get my college degree. I become an Army officer. I have now I've quit smoking. I've lost 60 pounds. I go from 260 to 200. And I start making other goals. So what next? Like now I want to do shit that I never did in all those 10 or whatever years of drinking. I want to run a marathon. So I start training. And I ran the Fargo Marathon in 2008. I did start teaching for a little bit, but then the Guard said, hey, do you want to become a full-time Guard person and work in officer recruiting? I'm like, yeah. So I did that for 3 years. I was an officer working for recruiting for the NDSU, North Dakota State University, ROTC program as a recruiter. And then I deployed again, except this time instead of being an E4, like the rank everybody gets, I was a company commander. I was in charge of 70 people. We deployed to Kosovo. I buried a soldier in Kosovo, not from combat. He was 38 years old. He died of a heart attack. But, I had to deal with that. I had to plan his funeral. I was in charge of a lot of shit. And was it scary? Yes. Was it hard? Yes. Am I so proud of myself for doing all that? Absolutely. Shit that I could not have done when I was drinking. I got a master's degree. When we were in Kosovo, they were like, hey, if you're deployed, you can get some extra college benefits and get a free master's degree. So I went and got a master's degree in strategic leadership. I had a straight A GPA. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying, like, there is shit that you can do when you don't have the weight of alcohol or drugs or whatever it is that keeps you from living the life that you want to live. So I got home from Kosovo. I started teaching. I taught for 12 years. And I'm not teaching now because, yes, is my life perfect? Fuck no. I had some teaching experiences where, that I did not like. I was an Army officer. I, saw things in the school system that I was not comfortable with. And so I eventually decided to leave teaching. I love working with kids. In fact, what I do now is I coach little kids. I work at a basketball academy and I train little kids. Do I sometimes want to go back to teaching? Sometimes, but I don't like the direction that schools are going. It's not for a guy like me who's kind of an alpha male. It's not, it's just not easy. You get put into a lot of situations where they want you to be like, oh, okay, you're right. And they don't want to hold kids accountable. And that's not easy for me. That's why I'm not teaching. But I coach kids. My son is 18 years old. He goes to school at the last place I taught at. It was a really good school. He's a great kid. My daughter, unfortunately, we do not have the best relationship. She was, born when I was in my drinking stage. When I went to Iraq, she was 6. So for those 6 years, I'd been an alcoholic. And then suddenly I'm gone for 16 months. And I get home from Iraq after 16 months and I quit drinking, but I've also changed so much that her mother and I split up. And then I go back to college for 2 years, and then I deploy again. And by that time, she is 13 and 14, and she's had it with me. I'm never around. So we do not have a relationship, and that is, it sucks. I've tried to apologize, but I get it. I was not a good father. And there are things that I regret about drinking. And she really wants nothing to do with me. And that is hard. That is hard. So I wish I could tell you that, hey, I got sober and everything was amazing. No, I fucked up a lot of stuff. Okay, my son and I, luckily, he got a different dad than my daughter got. He got lucky, and she probably holds that against me. And I don't blame her. And I hope that one day she will forgive me. I still see her at holidays, but we don't text, we don't call. She has never been to my house that I moved in 2018. So I hope that gets fixed one day. But my worst days now are a million times better than my best days when I was drowning in alcohol. I don't have to hide anymore. I don't have to lie anymore. I don't have to pretend to be something that I'm not. Here I am. I coach. I do this YouTube channel that has done a million times better than I ever thought it would have. I have 3,200 and some subscribers. Shit, there are actually people who pay, a membership fee, and I hopefully try to make it worth their while. Try to always respond to their comments, try to give them early access to videos. Anyway, there are good parts about being me, but sobriety doesn't mean perfect. So there are still struggles, and I deal with them all the time. But I never want to go back to that. I never want to go back to being as lost as I was lost. So what is important to me? I still try to set goals. I have goals with this channel. I try to be physically fit. I got really overweight when I was drinking. I always dread, so I work out. I wish I could tell you, I am always on a diet. And I wish I wasn't. I wish I was comfortable with food. Even when I was a little kid, I was always obsessed with my weight. I wish I wasn't that way. Okay, I wish I could say, hey, every now and then you could cheat and eat pizza. That's my favorite food. Well, I never eat pizza. I'm always on a fucking diet. But anyway, I do this channel. I work out. I try to do stuff with my son. I collect things. I have things I look forward to. My house is full of all this hair metal shit. So, I'm a collector. I do a little side business, to make money. I sell this framed stuff, to people in the Fargo Moorhead area. So, and I like doing that. I like to read. I live for music. I love chatting with people on X or Twitter, so I have things I look forward to. And I know that everything goes away if I pick up that bottle. So I'm about done. I don't have the magic answer. Like if people want advice, my advice, hey, find somebody to talk to. Shit, talk to me. Okay? You can message me on X, Twitter, follow me at Hair Metal Guru. My email address is anthony.a.bryant@hotmail.com. Okay, you can email me. I will try to respond. I will not have a magic answer. For me, I needed to tell everybody I cannot drink. I am an alcoholic. That needed to come out because I needed, because, you know, if I were to drink, everybody would be like, fuck, dude, what are you doing? And I don't want to deal with that. So that's a good thing. That helps hold me accountable. I did go to treatment. I don't know if everybody, my dad quit drinking when he was 40. Thank God. I had this good role model to look up to because he was an asshole, my stepdad, when he was an alcoholic. He quit when I was 14 and became this great dad. So I had that to like, look how he changed. You know, so I had that role model. He didn't go to treatment. He quit cold turkey. I don't know if everybody can do that. You know, and I don't know if everybody can, you know, luckily I got to go to treatment for free because I was a veteran. So, you know, but I know there are free resources for you to reach out to. So admit that you have a problem. Tell everybody so they will hold you accountable. Find somebody to talk to for those days when you are struggling. You know, like you have those days where you're like, fuck, I want to drink so bad I can barely stand it. When I have or have had those problems, I reach out and I talk to somebody. I'll be honest, I talked to my mom. You know, my mom worked at the VA. When I was going to treatment, I would have lunch with my mom. And it felt so good to finally open up and say, here's all the shit. Here's all the lies I was telling. When I was saying everything was good, it wasn't. You know, when I was telling everybody that I liked being a bartender, I didn't. That was a lie because that was all I was really capable of doing for a career. I wanted to be a teacher, but I was bartending because I was lost. So it felt good to have to open up and tell people what the drinking was like. And I feel like I'm rambling now, but I want to hopefully leave you with something that will give you some help. Reach out, ask for help. People will be there for you. Your true friends will be there for you. My drinking friends, once I quit drinking, we didn't have anything in common. And they were gone. And my true friends, they were still there for me. My family was still there for me. And your friends and your family, I think, will be there for you too. Okay? So, again, email me, message me if you feel like you want to talk to me. Okay? But I suggest that you start talking to your family and your friends and telling them the truth and seeking out whatever help you can get, because there is a better way to live than drowning your life, your family, your friendships, and your future in alcohol. It is no way to live. And I think I'm gonna wrap up there. Okay, it's not always, you know, I'm pretty comfortable talking. You know, I've done this channel forever. I was an English teacher. I had a speech minor, so I'm pretty comfortable doing this. But it's not easy to open up with your deepest, darkest secrets, and here are mine. So now you know. But hopefully you can get something out of this. I hope you have a great Christmas break, and I'm talking to everybody. But if you're somebody who struggles with alcohol, and you might be somebody who's like, you know that you're going to drink, well, maybe your New Year's resolution is that is the day you're going to make the change. That can be your Independence Day. Thanks a lot for watching. Hey, it feels kind of stupid now, but like, subscribe, what the hell, ring the bell if you want to get notifications. And for those of you who are only here for hair metal content, Again, that's always coming, but every now and then I'm going to do something like this. I felt like this video was important, and now was the time to make it. Until the next video comes out, my name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. Take care of yourself.